So for those of you guys that didn't see my video 2 days ago, I'll leave it in the description down below. But to give you guys a quick synopsis of what's going on, apparently two New York teams want Carmelo Anthony, and he was running this scrimmage with the New York Knicks, and at the time it was very strange because the Knicks were also bringing in Hasheem Thabeet for the scrimmage as well. If you guys don't know who he is, he was this draft bust that was taken after Blake Griffin, right before James Harden, right before Ricky Rubio, right before Steph Curry, right before DeMar DeRozan. He was the number 2 pick in the very deep 2009 NBA draft. And it was very random because Carmelo was just there, just chilling at the scrimmage, but it appears as if he was running this scrimmage against some of the Knicks players as well, most notably Julius Randle over here, which without a doubt we could say, I suppose he's the star of the New York Knicks now, considering the fact that he just signed a 3-year, $20 million contract with the Knicks. And I also read online, and I'll bring up the source in front of you guys because I don't know how credible of a source this is. This may just be a huge rumor, and I don't like promoting fake news on my channel, but I heard this rumor on a website that the Knicks could potentially also target Brandon Ingram and reunite Julius Randle with Brandon Ingram. And I really like the idea of this because, one, I know the season hasn't started, but on paper, Brandon Ingram doesn't seem to be a good fit for the New Orleans Pelicans unless his jump shot is significantly improved. Because if you look at the New Orleans Pelicans starting 5 potentially, you got Drew Holiday, Zion Williamson, Derek Favors, Brandon Ingram, and Lonzo Ball. And out of all of those players, only Lonzo Ball could hit I can't believe I accidentally said only Lonzo Ball could hit the 3. Out of all those players, only Drew Holiday could hit the 3, and Brandon Ingram could sometimes hit the 3. He's not that great of a 3-point shooter. He was a decent one in college, but not that great of a 3-point shooter at that. So having a starting 5 that could barely hit the 3 is just not ideal in today's NBA. Now, of course, they signed JJ Redick in the offseason, so they could throw him in the lineup somewhere, I'm sure. Maybe have a Drew Holiday, JJ Redick starting lineup as well. But personally, I just don't think it makes sense for the Pelicans to keep around Brandon Ingram. But of course, now that they have Brandon Ingram, they should at least give it 2 months, maybe 3 months to give it a shot. So I don't think this would be an off-season trade. It could be a potential in-season trade, and the New York Knicks are currently buyers of youth in the market. They're willing to take on salary at this point in order to acquire draft capital. In my opinion, that's the situation that they're at. And in the meantime, the way Carmelo Anthony would fit in with this team is mainly just so there's some sort of attraction to bring fans in. It's very similar to the Kobe Bryant farewell tour of a couple years ago. The Lakers were clearly going nowhere, so they devoted an entire year to destroying D'Angelo Russell and Julius Randle's development while also saying goodbye to one of their most storied stars in the history of their franchise, Kobe Bryant, back in 2016. Now, do I think Carmelo is going to end up going to the New York Knicks? No, I really don't. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. The management really mistreated him there. The ownership just clearly doesn't have any regard for its former stars. I really don't understand why he would want to go there in the first place, considering the way Patrick Ewing and Charles Oakley was treated in the past. I personally would not want to devote my best years to the New York Knicks, so I really don't think Carmelo will go back. I don't think the Knicks would really want him back, even though it kind of makes sense. I think the team that makes the most sense for him at this stage of his career is without a doubt the Brooklyn Nets. And I really wanted to touch upon this in my previous video, but the reason I didn't get a chance to is I literally finished recording the video, and literally at the 9th hour, I saw this news about Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving forcing the Nets to potentially sign Carmelo Anthony. And that was kind of weird because that kind of even changed the title of my video, but my job is to get you guys the news, so I threw it in there and I told you guys the latest and breaking news. So Here's the footage of Carmelo and Julius Randle going up against each other one-on-one, and the reason why I think the Nets will end up signing Carmelo is because it just makes too much sense. Carmelo and KD have a very similar game in the sense that Kevin Durant is more of more of a modern Carmelo Anthony with greater physical attributes. He has a greater wingspan, and he's less of a defensive liability, although we don't know what we're going to get from him once he comes back. But having Carmelo Anthony and Kyrie Irving on your team and having Carmelo fill the void of Kevin Durant while they're waiting for Kevin Durant to come back does multiple things. One, it potentially could keep the Nets competitive. It could, you have Carmelo who has had that star power in the past. He has the ability to go off and score buckets. He did score 27 points for the Houston Rockets in the past, and although you can make the argument that his game is no longer the game that the average NBA team is trying to go for, it's a fairly inefficient game. I've said this a lot in the past that he succeeds at the most inefficient type of shot currently, which is the long range 2. He usually takes the long range 2 while he's contested as well. So although I really don't think it's the most efficient form of basketball, the Nets have nothing to lose here. You're literally trotting out Kyrie Irving and DeAndre Jordan and Karis LeVert this year. And of course, they have a great supporting cast. That's another thing a lot of people forget. They have Spencer Dinwiddie as well, who's a beast. You're pretty much trotting out Kyrie Irving with a great supporting cast, which, by the way, he had last year. And you're hoping for the best. And that's going to be enough to make it to the Eastern Conference playoffs, but it's not enough to potentially make it all the way to the NBA Finals, in my opinion, at least on paper, barring a fantastic system that Kenny Atkinson puts the Brooklyn Nets into. So the reason why I think Carmelo Anthony is a practical lock to get signed by the Nets before the season starts is, one, he wants to be in New York. He'll be so happy playing in New York. He'll be very happy competing in New York. This just makes sense for Carmelo. He doesn't have to take a role where he's just coming off the bench and scoring. He could actually go back to his former role, maybe his role with the OKC Thunder. This could be even better than his role with the OKC Thunder because he would probably be the number 2 option in this offense potentially. Again, this is all on paper. We don't know what Kenny Atkinson's going to do. But for the Nets, you have this great opportunity to bring in a player who was a star in the past on the veteran minimum, who's hungry for his championship, because at this point, you can't make the argument that Carmelo Anthony is hungry for money. He's made tons of money. He's had great contracts, and he's definitely sacrificed career success in order to make a few extra dollars. Without a doubt, we could all agree with that. The way he got traded to the Knicks a couple years ago, causing the Knicks to gut out their roster in order for him to get a better contract with the Knicks. Yeah, we could all agree with that. But for the Nets, you sign a player, if you could even potentially sign him on a non-guaranteed deal, the same way the Lakers signed Dwight Howard on a non-guaranteed deal. And what you accomplish here is, if Carmelo gives you what you want, if he is able to even give you 40% of what Kevin Durant was able to give you, or if he's even a slight solid contributor, you can bring a guy that a lot of the players in the locker room look up to, respect, a great locker room guy, and could potentially contribute to your championship run. And that is one thing that the Nets definitely would like in the year without Kevin Durant. Now, on the flip side, let's say worst case scenario, he doesn't work out. He's like Allen Iverson when he went to the Memphis Grizzlies. He's a locker room cancer. He's just terrible to have on your team. You could always just cut him loose. But at the end of the day, I really think the combo, call me crazy, I know this is going to sound crazy because I know Kyrie Irving's an ISO scorer, and I know he's not really known for distributing the ball. It really depends. I think the X factor of all this and potentially all of this working is the scheme that Kenny Atkinson puts them in. And honestly, if Kenny Atkinson could make Karis LeVert and D'Angelo Russell look good, if the Brooklyn Nets could look good during a period of time where they had no first round draft picks, then I really feel that Kenny Atkinson is one of the more underrated head coaches in the league. He is a former basketball player, so he used to play in the league, so he's a player's coach. Players will listen to him. I feel like the Nets could surprise a lot of teams in the East this season. I think they could be the number 3 or the number 4 seed potentially. That's their ceiling. That's their ceiling. I'm saying not Milwaukee, not Philly, not Boston. The Nets could potentially surprise some teams this season if they fulfill their potential. So I would like to get your take on this. What do you think about Carmelo potentially going to the Nets? What do you make of this footage of him going up against Julius Randle? I would like to hear what you guys have to say. I want to give a huge shout out to my Instagram page real quick. We're running a huge NBA 2K20 giveaway, so make sure to enter that as well. All that's in the description down below. I'm your boy, Theflightmike, and I'll catch you guys later.